everyone, I'm Papa Kenn and welcome to a brand new episode of Discovering Doctor Who. Today the episode we're going to be talking about is Partners in Crime. And that actually brings me to my first favorite part of this episode, and that is Donna Noble's back! Yes! One of my... even though I didn't really know how to feel about her overall, she was just a very stark contrast to Rose, because she was the first companion that the Doctor had right after Rose left. And it was so much fun to have her back, and the way that they brought her back was so much fun too. Just all the, well, actually that brings me to number 2 of my favorite parts of this episode: the parallels of the Doctor and Donna, their investigation, trying to figure out what's going on with this company. It was just a lot of fun. I really enjoyed that aspect, and throughout this episode, the dynamics, or not the dynamics, but the way that the Doctor and Donna play off of each other was just so much fun. It was a lot like the Christmas episode from 2 seasons ago, but, or, well, 1 season ago. Yeah. But, she wasn't as cross with him, I guess you would say. She was a lot more inviting. She wanted to find the Doctor, which was a big aspect of it, as opposed to her just magically appearing on the TARDIS and during the middle of her wedding and freaking out. But yeah, just like the way the two play off of each other throughout this entire episode just really has me looking forward to the episodes that are to come with her in them. Because, I mean, they basically establish from the beginning that this is not a romantic relationship between the two. You know, there was the romance between the Doctor and Rose. There was there was Martha, who wanted romance with the Doctor, and the Doctor just kind of shut her out emotionally. But with Donna, it's just, they're friends. They're friends, and you can tell that from the beginning, and even before they established that rule, let's say. It was just, I really like the fact that they seemed like best friends working together. It really did seem that way to me. Now, my third favorite part of this episode: the adorable and yet extremely creepy little fat things. Oh yeah, well, their actual name was the Adipose. The CGI on them was bad, in my opinion, but I couldn't help but find them just freaking adorable throughout this entire episode. Even as, like, the one person, I think her name was Stacy, basically just dissolves into these little adipose creatures, I can't help but look at them and find them adorable. Again, in a very creepy, gross way, but adorable. So yeah, I really like them, and I'm doing my best to not let the bad CGI detract from that. But as they weren't even really characters, they weren't developed at all, but for what they were cute, and I liked them. Now that brings me to my 4th favorite part of this episode. The old man's grandpa! No, wait. The old man is Donna's grandpa! I'm gonna leave that in because, ow! First of all, but yeah, the old man is Donna's grandpa! First of all, you all in the comments are kind of mean. Like, some of you are saying, well, he is going to be in future episodes. And I was like, oh, okay, well, that's cool. He wasn't just a one-off character. Some people, I was warned that some people might have mentioned some spoilers for the character, and I did my best to avoid those. So I haven't responded to your comments yet. That's why, because I was trying to avoid them. But it makes me so happy to know that I can only assume he's going to be a relatively big part of the season to come, especially whenever they go back to Earth, back to Donna's time. So I'm really looking forward to that. So yes, the old man is Donna's grandpa. Awesome. Now, my 5th favorite part of this episode was that, well, it was at the very end, and it has to do with Donna's grandpa. The scene where he gets to see the TARDIS flying off, and just the absolute pure joy on his face. And I know the actor is like, he's really well known. I unfortunately can't remember his name off the top of my head, but he's really well known in Britain, and it's like, well, on the BBC, I believe. And he's just such a great character. I absolutely love him, and I'm so happy to see that he is being carried over from what I thought was just a one-off character role in the Christmas special. So that's just awesome. And, you know, for him to see that the UFO, the TARDIS flying off, and to see his granddaughter waving from it, that was just such a great scene in my opinion. Now, this brings me to my annoyances with the episode, and I do have quite a few, unfortunately. The first of which, and it's probably the biggest one really, the biggest thing that bothered me with this episode, the plot's just silly. It's really just weird, and I don't know, it seemed like sort of a, the plot itself seemed like it would have been just a filler episode, but the fact that it brings Donna back kind of keeps it from that. But despite the fact that it brings Donna back, who is quickly becoming possibly my favorite companion so far, imagine that, the story was just really weird, and I couldn't help but feel like, in the end, even though, as the doctor tells us, what the woman foster, I can't remember her full name, but what the foster lady was doing was illegal, according to, not international, but planetorial law, the Shadow Proclamation, whatever, that it really wouldn't have caused a lot of issues, except for maybe when, you know, someone dissolves completely, but it seems like that was only under emergency situations, from what the foster lady was saying. That only happens then. Otherwise, it's literally just people lose the fat, and it becomes these little adipose creatures. So in the end, it really wouldn't have been that much of an issue, in my opinion. I don't know, maybe I'm reading into it wrong, but it seems like had the Doctor and Donna not interfered, that it could have just, you know, gone absolutely fine. I don't know, it just seems that way. Let me know if I missed something that made it, like, you know, that made it seem more like, okay, these people are going, like, they would end up dying, they would, like, lose so much fat they would end up dying, or eventually these little things would do what happens when it goes into an emergency situation anyway. Again, it seemed strange, and it felt like the plot wasn't completely thought through, and in the end it really felt like there wasn't much of a threat in the end, except for obviously when it seems like, you know, the woman pulls the switch and everyone that's had any of the adipose pills is just going to dissolve completely. That's obviously a perilous point, but as it was, again, had the Doctor and Donna not interfered, it would have been the world's best diet plan, and the aliens would have gotten their millions and millions of babies. I don't know, maybe I'm just weird, but it seemed weird to me, and just in the end, the story wasn't that great. Now, my second annoyance with this episode, okay, if Foster has a sonic device, and she does use it after they get to the roof, but when the Doctor uses the sonic device to seal the door that Donna was on the other side of to keep the people from getting to her, if she had the sonic device the whole time, why didn't she just use that right then, instead of her lackeys shooting the door and then kicking it open like it's a piece of cardboard, which it literally seemed like a piece of cardboard. I don't know. That was really weird, kind of cheap prop design in my opinion, but I don't know, it's just like that little inconsistency bothered me. It's like, if she has the sonic device, I get it that it's for the plot point at which the Doctor is like, well, she can't do anything unless she has a sonic, which surely she doesn't, and then all of a sudden she has a sonic. But, I don't know, it just, after we find out, it's like, well, why didn't she just sonic the lock open? Would have made a lot more sense, in my opinion. Now, I know that's a nitpick, and the rest of these are kind of nitpicks, but it's still just stuff that bothered me. My third annoyance with this episode, at one point, Madam Foster orders that all of the windows be deadlocked, or deadbolted? Yeah, deadbolted. So it reaches a point where the Doctor can't sonic the window open, and it seemingly even, at least in one of the most hilarious scenes in the episode, where Donna says, well, let's bash it open, and she's just like, banging on the window. It was one of the silliest moments I've seen in these Doctor Who episodes, and it was wonderfully done. The fact that, not Donna Noble, I'm forgetting the actress's name, but, she's a comedian, and it's just, I have a feeling that this season is going to be really funny, and I love comedy, so I cannot wait for that. But getting back on point, he can't open the window. But then a little bit later, he's able to open the window that they were at earlier, with his sonic screwdriver. So, was the building not deadbolted anymore? Did he find the one window that would actually work? It was just really inconsistent. It's like, okay, he can't get in through this window. Seemingly, he can't get in through any of these. But then all of a sudden, he finds the one that will work with his sonic. Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, it's nitpicking, but it just really bothers me logically and consistently. It's like, there would have been another way for him to get in. Maybe he crashed the thing through the window. I don't know, but they should have at least maintained that consistency, in my opinion. Now, my final annoyance with this episode came right at the end when Madam Foster was being levitated toward the spaceship, or toward the nursery ship, I believe it was. And, she's just kind of standing there right where she is, talking to the Doctor and Donna. And then all of a sudden, the beam goes off. And she's just kind of hanging there for a few seconds. And she looks down and falls. Now, I know that Doctor Who, it's sci-fi, it's silly, it's technically, in a way, I guess, a kid show. But since when has it had Wile E. Coyote cartoon physics? Like, everyone knows, like, a lot of people know this, and especially in the older cartoons. Someone is running off of a cliff, they don't fall until they look down. And that's literally what happened in this situation. It was well, the tractor beam's gone. It's gone for several seconds, still hovering there, and it's not until she looks down that she starts falling. Now, admittedly, she doesn't just turn into a pancake and get back up like in a cartoon, she dies. But that just seemed really strange and out of place. Like, had it been, she started going up, then all of a sudden the beam goes off, and then she starts falling. As gruesome and morbid as it is, it would have been less annoying, and it would have seemed less like, again, the cartoon physics that just seems completely out of place in this show. But overall, those are my main issues with the episode. And, well, to get into my favorite quote of this episode, it's a very simple one, and it's honestly, I feel like it describes the episode overall. Just the absurdity, the strangeness of the story, or of the plot surrounding this episode. And it's right near the end when the little adipose fat things are going up to the nursery ship. And the Doctor and Donna are waving to them, and Donna just says, "I'm waving at fat." Just that moment right there, it's hilarious. And, like, thinking back, it makes me laugh because, like I said, it just so perfectly describes how absurd this episode is and how silly the whole plot is, because she's literally waving at little living beings of fat. So yeah, I love that quote. I'm sure there may be some others that some of you all like from this episode, but for me, that was just the one that really stood out the most. Now, as for my feelings overall on this episode, I would say I'm 60-40 on it. 40% I didn't care for it because of how silly the story was, or how silly the plot was, and some of those logical issues. But really the biggest chunk of that is just how absurd and silly the plot was. And this is, you know, amid a show that, you know, has a lot of absurd plots, a lot of really strange things going on. But it seemed like sort of a weak story to bring Donna back on. But then there's my 60%, which is just the fact that it brings Donna back, brings her back better than ever in my opinion. The chemistry between her and the Doctor, it was so much fun to watch. And the fact that the old man from the Christmas special is back, and he is Donna's grandpa, and or her gramps. Yeah, I believe that's what she calls him. And that was just, I love that aspect of this episode. So maybe it's more 50-50, it's hard to say. I didn't love the episode overall, but the fact that Donna's back just really, really made me feel better about this episode overall. So yeah, just let's mark that one 50-50. But, well, hold on a second. The next episode that's coming up is The Fires of Pompeii. And I cannot wait to see that episode. I am definitely looking forward to it. But even beyond just the anticipation for that next episode, at the end of this one, when Donna drops off the keys to her mom's car in the bin, she talks to a woman gathered around the crowd and tells her that her mother will be coming around looking for something. And the person she's talking to turns around and faces the camera. And it's Rose. What? What? Really? Rose is back. She disappeared, strangely. So I don't know if like something weird's going on and she's like stuck in between dimensions or what is going on. But Rose is back. So is she going to appear in the next episode? Is she going to have little appearances in all of the episodes coming up? Or is it going to be something that's sort of held out until, except for like, until certain like major impact episodes, like maybe the one that falls in the middle and the one that falls at the end of this season? I don't know! But just that moment alone, actually that does mark it back over to the 60-40. That moment, in addition to bringing back Donna, in addition to bringing back the old man, in addition to the great chemistry between Donna and the Doctor, I am so excited for this season. So excited. So with that being said, everyone, thank you very much for watching this episode of Discovering Doctor Who. I'm looking forward to what you have to say about this one. And just so you know, there will be another episode up later this week. I hope you're looking forward to it. And it will, of course, be about The Fires of Pompeii. Allons-y!